What's up, buddies? Yo! Concert Buddy back with another video talking about looking for records, and I'm talking about the thrift. Is the thrift store experience looking for used records, good used records, is it dead? Kind of think so. But recent evidence suggests that maybe there is a pulse. Cue that lever and let's talk about it after the break. Buddies, we've talked about the RIP, the rest in pleasure, the rest in pricing, whatever you want to say, about the thrift store experience, particularly about finding used records. Back when I was collection building 15 years ago, you could get solid and better than solid records at Goodwill, at the different thrift stores, be it Savers, be it, there's a red tag one. Gosh, there's been so many. The St. Paul, St. Vincent, the charitable places, all that stuff. For like 50 cents, quarter, maybe $1.
Think about this.
Those days are long gone. And I don't think they're coming back. Now, there's a couple factors that played into that. Obviously, 10, 15 years ago, people were just, finding records in the garage, grandma's house. Everyone was converting over either from CDs or the beginning of streaming. They're just donation situation. Well, as the air quotes vinyl renaissance is upon us, and has been upon us for a while now, those days are over. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, obviously, is people, if they do have those situations where they find records, get offer records, they haven't given those records, gifted them to somebody, they're taking them in, trying to cash them in at the local independent record stores, thinking, because they've seen on the news, they've seen on the internet, somebody at work told them, somebody at the Dairy Queen told them, you're sitting on black gold, you're sitting on money, records could be worth something. That Boston record could really be worth hundreds of dollars.
And ka-ching, we're making money, 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 money.
That Journey record could put your kids through college. All these things are false. Unless you have that Boston MoFi, that's a pretty pricey piece. I digress. But the reality is that that's where the records have been going. But, seeing some signs of life lately, namely in my local thrifts, because for a while, particularly around COVID, like we were doing a lot of thrifting, looking for like a lot of things, video games, Corningware, I mean, all these kind of things. We kind of went down a rabbit hole here in my home about thrifting and flipping and that sort of thing. And records before had been part of that equation for me, again, as I was collection building and trying to amass a lot of records cheaply in a short amount of time. But I also learned during the COVID thrifting era that the records were pretty dried up. And then as obviously more people come into the hobby, that's only continued to stay the way. And let's go back to our friends at Goodwill, which we'll talk about in a second also. They started this website called shopgoodwill.com. And shopgoodwill.com is a farce when it comes to trying to get things free. If you think about, people are donating, giving away things to the local thrift store, things they don't want, records, furniture, unused feminine products. I've seen them. That's not even a joke. It is a joke, but it's a real joke. I mean, you see some crazy shit at the thrift. I'm sure if you've been, you can relate to that. Light bulbs, crutches, bowling pins. It's all kinds of stuff. Grandma's ashes. True story. Not for me. But anyway, so shopgoodwill.com, I think it started probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Originally was just their way of trying to do like an eBay, try to get people to bid up things online. But then obviously COVID, and they kind of reformatted that business model to make it, they kind of doubled down, maybe tripled down on what that's going to be an experience. And the website, from user experience, it sucks. They really haven't invested in that so much. It's improved over the years, but it's still not a great user experience. And it started, we noticed, with like video games. Like we used to be able to find retro video games really cheap at the thrift. even the non-disc ones, cartridges, all that kind of stuff. We found one time for $25, found a full box of Nintendo 64 titles. I think it was like a little like sleeve that pulled out with like 8. It's like a carrier or a case that pulled out and had Smash Bros, Donkey. I had like all the good games. $25 for the whole thing. So that's never going to happen again. I totally realize that. And probably at the time was also probably like a big hit, rarity. But now the local Goodwills are instructed if things come in and receiving that they will perceive, they actually have different people who go through and sort. And if they think there are things that can fetch bigger dollars, collectibles, records now, video games, toys, they set them aside and then they send them to like central locations to then ship through the Shop Goodwill mechanism. And let's go ahead and I'll actually make a little cut through and we'll show you what shopgoodwill.com looks like.
Welcome to shopgoodwill.com. I'm going to put in vinyl records in the search. Like I said, the website has improved in the last 5 to 10 years. I'll give them that. But, well, I say that and then it takes a little bit to load. All right. Now, one thing they do on this site is they don't really do single records. They do all these whack bundles. So if you do see something you like, odds are you're going to have to buy it with a lot of other junk records. And the logic and how they bundle them, I'm not really following. There's going to be a couple bundles here below you'll see that do make some sense. I mean, here's a couple of Disney records. All right, yeah, we can bundle those. Here's a lot of 45s. Here's some Dollar Bin All-Stars, Rod Stewart, Linda Ronstadt. Let's just bundle those together. See, now here we've got this Paul McCartney bundle. So now this makes sense. It's 5 records, 5 of the Wings solo records. And $20 if you could get it for 5 records. It's not too terrible, right? But here's the rub. And this is the rub really with any website, be it eBay, Vinyl Stack, any of that stuff, is grading. And if you're trusting people who are just sorting the Goodwill receivables to grade properly, good luck. See, here's this disclaimer. Scratches, scuffs, tears, who knows? So this is a definite buyer beware situation. But, I mean, listen, if you got $20 and you want to throw another 10 for shipping, go for it. All right, let's get back to where we were. Yeah, here's some children's stuff, a couple children's bundles. Here's a Walmart, I think a Target probably bundle. Some people had some Target records they either got rid of or Target donated scrap. Here's a Steely Dan bundle. Again, condition be damned. I mean, if you want to take a flyer, go for it. Doors and Janis Joplin bundle. Here you've got a Aerosmith, you've got Led Zeppelin 1 and a Stones record. And it's got a couple bids. Beatles bundle. So, you know, again, these things would have normally ended up in the stores, but now they're here.
So that's the site. And like I said, that's where a lot of, at least for Goodwill, that's where a lot of the good stuff at Goodwill's been going. So all that said, and this extends, Savers necessarily is another chain. They don't necessarily have a website presence like that. But I was encouraged when I talked to friend of the program, friend of the show, JC, the channel's Flipside with JC. He goes, when I interviewed him for Vinyl Community Podcast, Mind of the Record Collector, put the links below. Great talk, great guy. He talked about going to Savers in the morning and in the evening. So he's hitting it hard. Boom, boom. His local Savers, boom, boom. So through that, that's netted him some pretty cool stuff. Over his channel, he frequently talks about his Savers hauls. It's really encouraging that things still do come in and don't get out real fast. And again, that's Savers versus Goodwill. So all that said, the thrift really hasn't been in my regular rotation for looking for records for some time. It's been a hot minute. Every once in a while, I'll duck into a thrift store just to kind of look, see what's going on. Maybe I need a bad jacket for a party or something like that. So recently, we went to Savers. This all started with Savers. We went to our local Savers a couple weeks ago. Just a random drop-in. Kind of did my little circuit. I usually kind of go into our local and I go to electronics first. Find turntables or speakers or controllers for video games or whatever. Hit through, go to clothing, toys. Hit the electronics on the back end, which is like DVDs, VHS media, basically, and then we're out the store. So as I do that little circuit, I see somebody putting a record back, and it looked like a video disc. It was the Clueless soundtrack. And I figured, oh, it's just a movie. They probably thought it was a record, and it's actually a laser disc, which is a pretty common occurrence, in record collecting. You see them at shows, see them at half-price books. Sometimes they look like actual soundtrack record, and you open them up, and it's a laser disc. So you got to be able to read, usually, soundtrack, and it'll say laser disc on it outside. Anyway, saw this young lady putting something back. I was like, oh, it's just laser disc. Somebody probably put in a bunch of laser disc. Well, then there's another couple over to the side kind of going through stuff, and they had Taylor Swift 1989 and Adele 21 or 30 or one of the Adele records and a couple other contemporary records. I'm like, hang on a second. Maybe somebody just donated their teeny bopper collection. And so I go and I look, and at Clueless, what I thought was a laserdisc was actually the soundtrack. I think Urban Outfitters did it. Okay. Then there was Pitch Perfect 2, something that's not really my alley, but it's actually a record that was made in the last 40 years, which is very rare in the thrift these days. Okay. So now that instance is probably somebody just got tired of records, or what a lot of us speculate has been on the horizon. We thought the vinyl bubble might burst with younger people who got into the hobby around COVID, maybe now divesting and getting out of it because of the lack of convenience compared to streaming. And obviously the rising cost of new vinyl is ridiculous. It's a prohibitive thing for younger people to stay in the hobby when a new record from their favorite artist costs $40. It's pretty ridiculous. Again, a lot of the price gouging that you saw when CDs came in, when vinyls come back now, you're seeing a lot of these things repeat themselves. Tapes, remember back in cassette tapes, pricing elasticity was insane. So that's happening now on records. So been waiting. A lot of us have been waiting for the bubble to burst, and a lot of these young people, the records they picked up, to then go back into the marketplace. And it doesn't have to necessarily be Post Malone or Taylor Swift or any of that stuff, but it can be anything. So I saw this happened, and I should note where Savers, the records used to be 50 cents, $2.99. Now we're up to $5 at my local Savers. $5 a record. So just for shits and grins, I bought both those records for $10. Probably overpaid, but it felt good to buy records at the thrift again. I'm not going to lie to you, buddies. So fast forward another week. After we had this good Savers experience, went out to dinner with the family one night. You probably heard us talk about this on the recent Surface Noise, but it's true. It's easier to make a right turn on the street we're on, so we went right. And I was like, well, I haven't been in this Goodwill in a minute. Let's duck in here. Duck in the Goodwill. Walk through, and then like the case, they always have that case of locked up goodies, the things they think are really high value. There's like a snow blower or like a lawn blower, some old shoes, a toolbox, something like that. There's a big old stack of records. So I look at the front one, and it's like an Alice Cooper record. I'm like, oh, here we go again, overvaluing records. And so I don't even think anything of it. You can't even, I even went around to the back of the case to see if I could see some of the titles. It's, of course, closed, so you can't see it. So I go back to where the records are traditionally held, and the first record I see is Meet the Beatles. I was like, uh-oh, maybe onto something. And I was onto something. I was onto a big pile of shit because I pulled the cover back to see what the price was, and it was $11. The Goodwill is now pricing crazy prices on used shit. Beat the shit. Somebody's name, Gretchen or somebody, was written on the cover. Unbelievable. I'm going to show you actually some footage of the records that I found. Check this out. So not terrible. I mean, it was actually an improvement over what I'd seen in the thrift in a long time. But man, those prices are, you gotta be kidding me. Crazy stuff, crazy. So there's some more records off to the side. And I actually found a couple of records that weren't terrible. There's some Frank Sinatra records, which I'll show in a second. UK presses, first presses, it looks like. I got to do some more research, but really good shape. They came on like the flimsy covers, so I kind of knew that they're made outside of the States. So I picked up a couple of those. And then I went back to that case that had the big smorgasbord of records with Alice Cooper on top. I was like, I'll look at these. So I did pick out, I think, a winner. Let me show it to you in a second.
I like to dig. One time I went digging for treasure and I found a half body.
All right, so I'm just going to show these real quick. This is a Dean Martin record where Frank Sinatra was allegedly conducting the orchestra, but this is, I think, one of these European presses because the cover was real flimsy. So this big winner was $4.97. So I probably overpaid for it, but in fact, these are UK presses. I thought it was kind of interesting, and again, get caught up in they finally have records I'm quasi-interested in to flip. I'll take them. And then I picked up some of these Frank Sinatra's, right? Where Are You? Again, this cover is just like butter, like flimsy. So that one, again, these are all really great condition. $4.97. This one, Close to You, Frank Sinatra. Again, look at this cover, butter. $4.97. Come Fly With Me. See this one a lot. Again, flimsy UK cover, first press. $4.97. So you're probably saying, Concert Buddy, why are you paying $5 for Frank Sinatra records? This is Sinatra Volume 2. They didn't have Volume 1, sadly. Again, $4.97. This one stopped me in my tracks. And I don't know if I'll take offers on it, but it's a pretty big title. This is Heinji. Heinji. If you know, you know. Got this one for a big whopping $1.34. So this one almost broke me financially, but this is one to put on if you want to dance with your dogs or seduce your neighbors, or I don't know, have a horse fart on you. It's a buck, right? Just throw away. So probably the best of the bunch, once I went back into that case, was the Steely Dan record. And Asia, I mean, I'm not a big Dan guy. I think I do have the UHQR. I have an early press. I don't know if it's a first press downstairs. But from all my research, allegedly, and tell me in the comments below if you're a Danner, this is wrong. But everything I found on Discogs, the Matrix is the AB1006, RE3A, yada yada. So everything I found on Discogs suggests that this is the one to have. It may not be. And this one, again, comparing on Discogs, this one was on Discogs $30 normally. Again, Goodwill actually came in pretty cheap. I'm surprised they didn't have this at $70. This was $14.97. So I felt pretty good about that. Now, does that mean that the good days are here? Goodwill's back, baby. No.
Well, fuck off.
I'm going to hit you with the truth stick. I don't think so. I think it's like a lot of times, even if you go to your local independent store, timing is paramount. And, you know, when I interview JC, he goes in the morning and he goes in the afternoon. And I think the more that you hit it, the more the frequency, your law of averages is going to even out. You're not going to find something every time. But I also think that maybe, knock on wood, that maybe people are going to start divesting from their records, particularly like I talk about the 2020 crowd, the COVID crowd, because maybe they're now going to concerts again. Maybe they're getting out. Maybe they use sports. Maybe they got other things to do besides be stuck and locked in the home listening to records they purchased online or through the locals. I can tell you firsthand that used market as a whole feels very, very tight right now, from the local store level to the record show level. Record show level, you're still going to find solid pieces, but the Discogs effect has definitely taken over. The last 18 months, it's hard to find really good deals. You might save 10, 15, if you're really lucky, $20 off of a Discogs price on some really coveted pieces, but by and large, the dealers are following that Discogs stuff like a Bible, at least as some kind of pulse on their pricing, and that's unfortunate. We can do a whole other video about that some other time. But anyway, buddies, I'm here to tell you Goodwill is not good, but it's not bad. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. The thrift is still part of that collector toolkit, but it's not as big of a piece as it used to be. Like I said, 10, 15 years ago, you could really crush it and really get great stuff. But now, It's going to be hit or miss. But maybe the silver lining is that outside of some rando UK Frank Sinatra albums and a Steely Dan Asia, maybe, just maybe, used vinyl is going to start finding its way back to the thrift. We'll see. We shall see. Buddies, that's all I got for you this video. Tell me in the comments below, are you still going to the thrift? Is that still part of your regular circuit to look for records? And if so, have you hit on anything good in the last, let's call it last 12 months, the last calendar year? And if you did, what was it? Tell me all about it. Give me hope. Instill that hope. Because, you know, hope is a 4-letter word, and it's a town in Arkansas, I think, as they used to say. But I would like to hear what you guys are experiencing out there in the field as well, in the different parts of the country, different parts of the globe, countries, etc. Tell me in the comments below, is the thrift worth the squeeze? Is the charity shop for my friends over the pond, is the charity shop still worth the time? Love to hear about it. But buddies, that's all I got. Till next time. And maybe I'll have some more thrift records. Who knows? Maybe I'll go to the thrift after I get done with this video. We shall see. But when you get the chance, buddies, to go to the thrift, find records wherever you can find them, you need them, just spin it. See you soon.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
Well, we out of time.